Are we muted or good? Everybody online can hear us? Or someone at least?
Yes, I can hear you.
So it's the last session of the day, and we are resuming with Sogai. And I noticed that we have one of our chairs. Lucas, I spotted you earlier. Are you available to chair the last 3 presentations for Sogai?
Yes, definitely. Apologies for joining late. There was some glitch with the VQuake website for some reason. I couldn't really find the link, but I'm here and all is good. I also see Abhijay though, so we can co-chair this together.
Very good. So how about the other 2? Your co-chairs, who is online? Is Zhenjong or
it's Abhijay. It's Abhijay because Zhenjong actually sent us a message earlier that he has a fever and unfortunately he's not going to be able to co-chair and as well deliver the presentation, unfortunately.
Okay. So I'll then pass the microphone to you. You decide how to chair for our last 3 presentations, okay? And by the way, since
thank you so much.
Use the opportunity to introduce yourself since you're not present in the early morning. Actually, you shouldn't say you are late. You are actually early. I know you woke up early in the US to join us. So thank you for doing that and being part of the group. And again, go through a short introduction and then chair the session. Thank you.
That's right. So I'm going to start with my introduction and then I'm going to pass the torch to Abhijay. So my name is Lucas Krasula. I'm currently part of Adobe generative AI organization called Firefly. I'm mostly working on quality assessment of generative AI images and videos. So that's a really perfect fit for Sogai. And yeah, most of you hopefully know me from my activities with Sam and other groups. And I hope that's enough for now. Abhijay, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Are you guys able to hear me clearly? I hope so.
Yes, actually louder and more clear than Lucas, who is somehow on a telephone line. You are probably on voice over IP. Go ahead, Abhijay.
Okay. Yes. So I think most of you guys must be knowing me. I used to work with Saman and Navjeet, and I was at Sony Interactive Entertainment before. Now I work at Microsoft, and so not really working on Gen AI evaluations, but I work with evaluating real-time communication software, and also for Sogai, I think we've mostly been trying to figure out things related to subjective evaluations of Gen AI, but yeah, we did have one session later today, Lucas, right? Where we would like kind of think about like what we can do together as an activity.
Yes, there's a discussion that's going to be the second presentation.
Okay, and just to fill you in, we already had what I like to call an early brainstorming discussion, where Sogai was in the center of the storm. We feel, or at least some of us, are very positive that your group is maybe the spearheading the direction of all VQuake. So I look forward to this brainstorming discussion from you and of course with the rest of the presentations. Okay, so with that, back to you to call out, and you can follow whatever order fits the group. Okay.
Yeah. And Lucas, please go ahead.
Yes, that sounds great. So I believe that there are 3 presentations. One of them is the discussion. Then there's Mikolai's presentation, and there was supposed to be Zhenjong's presentation that unfortunately, since he's not going to be here, it's not going to happen. So we can take, for both presentations, we can take as much time. I believe that it's better to start with Mikolai's presentation, and then we're going to spend the rest of the time in the discussion. Does that sound good?
Mikolai stepping up to the podium.
Brilliant. All right, Mikolai, floor is yours.
Well, okay. Thank you. And actually, it's not going to be only me, but also David. Okay, so yeah, the title is Quality Assessment for Multimodal AI-generated and AI-adapted scientific content. And okay, I'll go on to the next one. Yeah, so basically this is like a presentation which will maybe give some ideas for SOGAI, for the next research. And everything is motivated by the fact that we can observe scientific content to be promoted for, let's say, lay person. Sometimes like, you know, because scientific papers are obviously very difficult to understand if someone is out of the discipline. And of course, we believe there is like a need for the promotion of science, or also for the non-specialists. So there are many people that actually try to promote science and to explain things in a simple way. And of course, one of the way of explaining things is to make a video. And of course, nowadays it's pretty easy, or at least easier, to generate videos using the AI. And things like that happen already. And of course, the question is how good the video is, but actually it's not that simple question because it's the whole process. So basically, it's not only about the, you know, the quality of the pixels, which could be actually pretty okay with the AI, but it's also like, is the adopted scientific claim still right in a video form? So if you convert the paper into the video, and you maybe translate it to a different language, you adapt it to the, you know, to the different audience, and you also make a video out of the paper, is it still valid? Okay, and now the question is why actually we think about to start from scientific papers. There are like 3 reasons, or maybe even 4 reasons for that. The first thing is that the source is traceable. So, you know, papers are well established. They provide claims, some methods, evidence, you know, references. So we can build somehow full reference metrics, okay? Of course, it's not an easy full reference metric, but there is a reference, okay? The reference is the paper. The second thing is papers have rich structure, okay? They combine text, figures, tables, equations, whatever, okay? Metadata, terminology, references. So there are many different media types, let's say, within the paper. There is a need for the adaptation, as I mentioned before, because there is a need of promotion of the science. And, okay, so maybe these are the 3 main reasons so far. And why we talk about this within SOGAI, because of course we have many researchers here. So scientific papers are, let's say, natural thing that we deal with, right? So we know well how to deal with the papers. So so that's why it's not something strange for us. And I mentioned the term of multimodal scientific adaptation, and the question is, what is that actually? What do I mean by the scientific adaptation or multimodal scientific adaptation? So first of all, we have the input. So we have the paper, maybe some metadata, maybe some figures that are embedded within the paper, some tables, equations, and so on. Then we have the transformation. The transformation could be both the translation, which is like an easy thing, or part of easy thing, okay? Let's say we can translate from English to, let's say, Polish, or I don't know, another language. But also, you know, there is the audience transposition, meaning that it's not about just translating, but it's also about explaining to a different audience. Usually like to simplify things, right? And the last thing is that in the current world, if you want to target like many audiences, perhaps instead of reading 10 pages long paper, you need to produce a 30 seconds long TikTok video, because this is how do you talk to people. This is how the world is constructed right now. So it's obviously difficult, and there are like many problems here, many risks. So first, the translation. The translation of course, changes the language. It's just the language, like, Polish, English, and so on. And of course, there are some risks here. So we can have some technology or terminology drift, and also the loss of some nuances. Then we have the transposition, which is the change of the audience profile. So maybe while simplifying the content, we can oversimplify it, or we can put some wrong emphasis. And finally, there is a transformation, usually into video. So we change the modality, and of course, we can miss a context here. We can have some weak audiovisual coherence and other problems that you are probably aware of. And the idea here is that paper actually becomes a structured knowledge object. So it's not just a document, but we could think about the paper as the object with several attributes inside, like sections, like introduction, methods, results, discussion, conclusions, which are the obvious sections of the paper, then some other elements like metadata, figures, tables, equations. And there's also a semantic layer and the reuse layer. So what should be translated, what should be skipped, for example. And all of this has actually a very practical implication. So at the end, we must ensure that there is some quality assessment that must apply that will compare, the generated video against the different modality being the scientific paper. Okay, so the idea of the process looks like that. So we think about like 5 steps. So we have the ingest, which is the paper, which we have to parse. We have to find the figures, metadata, equations, references, which is like an engineering thing most of the time. Then we have to identify the sections, so the structure, the scientific elements, what could be reused in the final, let's say, video. We have to understand it, so to build some semantic index, concepts, relations, and so on. Then we have to produce the video, like to translate it, the text, to transpose it to the given audience, and to transform it into the narrated visual segments. And what is probably the most interesting thing from the perspective of SOGAI is the validation. So the review of the produced video, and to review its quality, not only in terms of the pixels, but also in the broader term. So we propose, let's say, new SOGAI activity. So the SOGAI so far is like mainly concerned with the QE for the AI generated video content, probably in the little bit like narrower, let's say, meaning. And our proposal is that we want to extend the scope with the quality evaluation for the scientific content that is translated into videos or transposed into video. So of course, the activity would need to consider the whole chain, but of course, it's not like everyone needs to be involved in any particular, element of the chain. But we understand it like, checking the quality of the raw scientific text, then adaptation, the video generation, the subjective QLE, maybe the agentic QE, the agentic QE approach, then the proxies and the validation practice. Okay, so I think this is the time that I would like to give the floor to David to continue.
Okay, so following the Kennedy's quote, we are not doing it because it's easy, but it's hard. So this activity is quite ambitious because it spans the whole evaluation object. So you saw the whole chain here, and for AI-generated scientific video, we can work on first on the content generation and adaptation. We can work on media quality and acceptability. we can work on source adherence and scientific fidelity. Then audience fit. So we assume that we will not generate these videos only for, let's say, specific audience, but we will try to generate videos which will fit the, let's say, profile of the audience. So maybe for kids, maybe for kids, maybe for people who are, let's say, not who are working in science but not in this field, or maybe for the people who are, let's say, just interested in new findings. Yeah. So also comprehension and usefulness will be interesting for us in this context, and of course multimodal coherence across narration, visuals, subtitles, and interactions. So we have to sum up this, we have three main topics. So first we need to focus on source content. So here will be a bunch of scientific papers which provides grounded meaningful input. Then, because if we want to assess quality for AI generated content, why don't we take as a starting point our publications, or not only our publications, but scientific publications. Then we have generated video block, where is the output, an AI generated video experience, and then the last block is QoE evidence. So it's like subjective tests and objective proxies here can be linked. Okay, it works. So quality is multidimensional, so it's a very common phrase here in our society. So we have here three specific parts of this dimensions of this multidimensional context. So we have scientific scientific part, like accuracy, completeness, terminology, traceability to the source. In terms of communicating the science, it's like clarity, audience profile, narrative structure, and cognitive load. And the last dimension is also multimodal, like audiovisual alignment, timing, captions, visuals, and interactions quality. So here are our proposed candidates for assessment, but we don't want to limit this scope now only to those dimensions. But let's see what we find out here. So fidelity as the I think most important here, and grounding. But fidelity, does the output preserve the original scientific claim? And then grounding, so can key statements be traced back to the source? Then audience fit, so is the explanation appropriate for the declared user profile, the purpose, and prior knowledge? And then video coherence, so do narration, visuals, captions, and interaction support each other? Usefulness, can the target user do something meaningful with the output? And trust, does the output make uncertainty and limits visible enough? And we diagnose also 4 quality logs. First is our depth and analogy. So we don't have validated metric for this. We are not sure whether adaptation depth and analogies are pedagogically appropriate. In terms of video coherence, as I said before, we need to check if the output is strong enough or not weak too much. Then comprehension that covers correct answers to generated questions, may not prove through understanding. And of course, the last thing, but I think most important here, pedagogical ground truth. So we need some baselines for educational usefulness, not only generation quality. So how we see it in the SOGAI style evaluation protocol. First, we'd like to define source papers and target audience, then generate adapted video output, run expert fidelity review, then run target audience subjective test, and at the end compare objective proxies with subjective outcomes. Okay, and what the activity could define. So first, a source content strategy based on scientific publications, then a generation scenario for scientific AI generated video. Another activity could cover subjective quality of experience protocol to target audiences, and then objective proxies for grounding, coherence, and media quality. At the end, the validation, which is, I think, the most important here in our activity, so plan that can become useful across whole subgroup. So for closing, to sum up, we'd like to make AI adapted scientific video that is not just generated media, but something bigger. So here we have a chain of transformations that each can influence the results at the end. Whole depends on fidelity, audience fit, and multimodal usefulness. So those three questions here are, from our perspective, the most important. Does the video preserve what the paper actually claims? So we need to measure it somehow. In the context of audience fit, is the explanation right for the intended viewer? And from the video usefulness perspective, do narration, visuals, and interaction help understanding what we provide to the user? So here are, let's say, our proposal points. So we'd like to build the activity together. So just to suggest something, we'd like to finish first step till June 30 to agree on a small pilot corpus of publications. Then I would like to generate comparable scientific video variants. Then we will define QoE dimensions and test conditions, and connect this work to SOGAI test plan practice. Why do we think it is useful? Because first, we advance QoE for AI-generated content, video content. Second, we cover the whole chain from the beginning, from the, let's say prompt, text source to video experience. Then we support dimension and popularization of research. So it's, let's say, publicly useful activity. And then we create a concrete shared SOGAI work item with this activity. So the next milestone, if the topic gains traction, we will present a detailed activity work plan by September 2026, and it will covering source selection, video generation variants, and QoE testing, source fidelity validation. So that's all from us. If you have any questions or would like to join this activity, we are more than welcome for you to come and to work together with us.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much, Nikolai and David. This is a really, really interesting proposal. and I'd like to open it up to questions from the room or online.
Thank you from me as well. I think I like that it is actionable, concrete, and has a scope, right? These are the things that I like on the plan. I see here the support. Do you already have a plan to, for example, fund some of these subjective experiments? Would you like external labs to undertake? How do you say, give me like an ideal partition of tasks among, let's say that 5 people say, okay, I'm interested. How would you go about? Some of them are very, let me say, easy in the sense they can be done over calls, but some may require, for example, setting up subjective experiments, agreeing on the questions to be asked, methodology, etc., and actually running the test. Can you walk us through it?
Yeah, so basically, we believe we have resources for at least this preparatory work. So I think we can define, the the methodologies, and we can actually implement them. But what we mainly look for is to join the forces in the evaluation protocols and the actual evaluation for those who are interested. So basically, we are looking for other people that could be interested in joining, us. But it's like, for the preparation of the whole, let's say, processing chain, I think we can provide it. But for the evaluation, probably we would like to discuss and to work with the others if others are interested in. Maybe you can add something.
Yeah, it's the main idea is that to make it first the room for discussions and preparing this say SOGAI test plan practice here on this content, and then we'll go to the phase where it's validation, and we'll strongly encourage everyone to join this part. Currently, we are working on the preparation part, and would like to, let's say, give you a hint that such activity is a proposal from us.
Thank you. And I assume that you already have some tentative HRCs, right? The engines that you'll be using for this purpose. I don't think the engine is really the objective here, right? The engine is just one way to create. But all I'm trying to say, do you have some already in mind that you have potentially identified?
We have something already on mind, but not implemented, let's say. So we look forward, to implement something like in a couple of next months. At least some prototype or proof of concept to start producing, these videos, and then the real, let's say, quality factor comes. So then we are able to, to discuss and to present also, and to collaborate with respect to the quality evaluation.
Yeah, I have also a question from the perspective of the validation in general. I noticed there are two things. One is like the relevance to the audience and really how well it targets whoever we're trying to target. And the other dimension is this, like how well it represents the paper, if it really, overstates the conclusions, or if it is capturing the conclusions properly, if the limitations are captured well, and so on. And I feel that from the validation perspective, this would have to be done in either two steps, or I don't think that a target audience can evaluate all the more objective aspects of it, and it's mostly going to be focusing on subjects. So we also would like to potentially span the dimension of one video could be more, let's say, more correct or better capturing all these objective elements, but it is more boring for the audience, for example. So how are we thinking of evaluating this? Are there going to be two groups, or would it be good to have someone who's the target audience as well as a scientist from the the domain to be able to evaluate this? Are there any thoughts about that?
So actually, we also have these questions. We are actually proposing this here to find the answers. But of course, yeah, we have some ideas. Like, as you said, people perhaps cannot directly evaluate the quality, but we can maybe ask them some questions about the content and face the answers with the ground truth. And this is the way, we can see if people understood or misunderstood, the concept. This is very basic and, let's say, initial idea, but that could be one of the approaches how to evaluate it.
So for sure, if even in presentation we just marked it, that's the first part of assessment will be done by experts, I think. But another question is because there is another dimension, because when you change text to video, you can lose some information, and you need to find out if this information was key information for the audience. So asking them question if they understood properly the content of video is, I think, not enough, but we need to check it. So stay tuned. We believe that we'll share those ideas on the future meetings of SOGAI. Yeah.
Brilliant, thank you. Are there any other questions? If not, I think we can thank the speakers again, and we're going to follow up with a discussion.
Thank you.
So, Lucas, I did have a presentation which I presented in the last SOGAI meeting. I could do like a small recap of that before we start the discussion. It might kind of be related to what Mikolai and David just presented, and it can also be something that can help kind of start our discussion as well. So it'll be a nice bridge between those two.
Brilliant, yeah, I think it's a great idea.
Okay. Okay, so there is this Arena AI or chatbot Arena LLM, which was kind of which is a website where people go and type in their it's kind of a leaderboard.
Your slides are not on full screen. Is it like?
Yes, I was just trying to do that. And let me share this presentation again. Okay. So, sorry, 1 second. Okay, so there's this Arena AI, which was formerly known as Chatbot Arena, and basically they have created a leaderboard and have a number of model providers over there, which can be used, which provide models that can be used for text to image or text to video or just like LLMs that can be used for prompting. And what people do is that they go online, they put in a prompt, and they get two videos generated. And based on what the video looks like, they can give some kind of they can say which one is better of the two. For example, these are two videos, and what they were trying to do was create a presentation with 3D charts and some animated bullet points, and it should look futuristic. So, and they in and apart from just having A versus B, they also have whether they both are good or both are bad. And from a recent video that I saw on their website, I learned that these two options have been quite useful in understanding how AI is evolving. This AI generated videos have been evolving, and it seems like both are good and both are bad are kind of like people have started to select those two options less and less. So it means, sorry, people have started to select those options more and more. So it just means that it's getting harder to kind of choose between the two models. So all models are kind of have started to do better now over time. And they have a P910 sort of a framework, um, and they use pairwise MOS. So um, it's kind of like a large like these model. So what's helping these model providers is that it's providing a fresh new set of prompts, and you can also get a large scale human preference evaluation without the need of like training the annotators or getting in experts to do this. Now, there was this paper called The Leaderboard Illusion at NeurIPS, and they were kind of criticizing what all is wrong with this leaderboard, the Arena AI sort of leaderboard. And they pointed out these four issues with it. So, first one is the data access disparity. So, they said that some of the model providers were getting a chunk of the test prompts, um, and that was not right. And then there was this problem of overfitting where over time, some of the model providers, since they are getting a better chunk of the test prompts, they would be able to understand the trend of the prompts over time and then overfit to those prompts. Then third one was handpicking of scores. So if you are evaluating different model checkpoints, you would be able to handpick which ones would go and would be public facing. And lastly, there were some open source or open weight models that were being silently removed from the Arena AI model, and all of this was came into light when Arena AI released some information to the public in between, but all of their data is still undisclosed. And so, not going into too much detail and just looking at different recommendations that they provided in their paper, which is that they said that they need to that they should not allow score retraction after submission from the model providers, and have um, they should basically publicly reveal how their private and public way like how their model family is doing rather than just like a single model is doing. um, Also, there should be some kind of audit um, to this, and they should be not providing a chunk of the test prompts to certain providers, and it should be a fair evaluation. Um, so So yeah, so that's mostly about the paper. And recently I attended like a meetup where there were a bunch of folks from Seattle who work on evaluations, specifically Gen AI evaluations. There were people from a company called Brain Trust, and there were people from Microsoft and Amazon who work on these uh, evaluation frameworks and evaluations internally at their firm. And some of the new things that I learned was that they heavily rely on building a data flywheel from the feedback they get in production. So they get like some kind of explicit feedback like thumbs up or thumbs down, or they have access to implicit signals um, like if the person was rephrasing or was asking to rephrase a prompt, or like did they abandon the pursuit for generating a sort of a video. And they also get understanding of how many retries it gets to kind of reach the final product. um, so all of that is very useful in understanding context, uh, in the intent of the user for these products, uh, and what was like the details of the session history. I think if we could incorporate something like that with Mikolai and David's proposal, I think that would be very useful in uh, using these like contextualized evaluations, which would yield like slightly more reliable subjective judgments, I feel. Uh, yeah, so uh, that's what's mostly been, um, that's what I mostly wanted to say. If you have any thoughts, please feel free to say now.
Thank you so much for sharing. I think this is really useful for also setting the floor for the next discussions. First of all, do we have any questions to what Abhijay just presented? Seeing none, so I guess.
Sorry, just a quick question. Actually, do you know events, or I don't know if there are some bodies or something like that working on the quality for LLMs and stuff like that? So I guess this is a big topic. You found this paper, but do you know like I don't know, venue or something like that?
So I might know people who work on these frameworks. I think Lucas also works on something of this sort, maybe Firefly. I'm not sure, but I think I can ask. Um, so I met this person from Brain Trust who is heavily into this, and I could ask them to come and present in one of our subsequent meetings at Sogai. Um, if that is something which you would like and would like to interact with someone like that, I would be happy to connect. But if you have any questions for them, I could also pass on a question.
No, it's.
I also know a bunch of folks at Prolific. I think the meetup was organized by them, so I got to interact with them as well.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah, I guess that one of the issues here is that there is not much overlap in the quality or the QoE that historically we have been working on as part of VQuack, and the arenas and all the body of work that developed for generative AI in general. And there's a lot of scattering. There's a bunch of arenas right now. There's a lot of leaderboards that do not have clear, let's say, it's not really clear what their motivations are, how they make money. it's not really clear how transparent this is. And from the scientific community, there's not a consensus on how to do these things. So I think there's a lot of let's say opportunity for VQuake to step in, although it is really difficult to like keep up with the trends and the speed of development in those leaderboards and all the evaluations on AI. So that's been so far challenging to really like try to inject some more rigor without this, taking off on its own. So that is definitely something we can take in as a part of the discussion. Like, what would be the best way for Recordin to contribute or maybe steer the whole community of evaluation for Gen AI. I really do like the proposal that David and Nikolai presented for its, let's say, broadness. I really like that it's the full scope. We also need to be careful to be targeted enough. So I like that there's a test plan. The question now would be, do we want SOGAI to become like more moving towards that concrete project, or do we want to have separate work streams, like one, for example, following these leaderboards and in a parallel also going with the project? And I would definitely be very, very interested in what Yanis was mentioning earlier, that there were some preliminary discussions. So I would like to hear more. But yeah, I'll give the floor to Nikolai and David to give some thought.
Well, we thought, like, at the end, maybe if we have some, let's say, tangible outcome from this research and development of the metrics or methodologies, perhaps we could end up with some contribution to ITU about Gen AI, testing. I think probably it should be broader than what we proposed, but with the whole group of SOGAI, perhaps we could bring something really to ITU, unless there is something already there. I don't know. We'll need to probably check. But if there is something ongoing, perhaps we could just, try to contribute with our contribution. Otherwise, we can maybe start from scratch as well. We already have some experience in contributing to ITUT in the past, so going through this process is not something completely new for us.
I think that it was a nice practice of, for example, IMG. We did some contributions, and maybe we can, as the topic of SOGAI is very, let's say, novel. Maybe there is an idea. Maybe we'll share this idea with us to prepare something that will be a contribution to subjective testing of AI. Maybe agentic testing of AI generated content. Yeah. Video content, I mean.
Yeah, I believe that was from the very beginning, the ITU contribution was something that we would love to be striving toward. The main issue currently has been for the ITU contribution, it would have to be very much targeted. So I was involved in the SAM group, ITU contribution, and there was a very specific problem that we selected or proposed a method that could be addressed. It would be great if we can identify something like that, because there's such a breadth of what can be done and what is being done in this space that we haven't yet, pinpoint this like one thing that we would like to address and what we would really want to push forward. So maybe we could also use the opportunity of combining these efforts to actually find what is the right, like, one common denominator there, like what can we really address. And yeah, I think this is something that should come out of the discussions in the group, and ideally from all the efforts.
Definitely. I think that actually we are at the very, very beginning of our journey with what we have proposed. So it's very difficult to say, what will be the outcome. Usually it's like you do some research, and only after a while actually what could be contributed to the ITU, if any.
maybe we should think about the concrete plan to, let's say, finding out what will be this, let's say, the topic of our contribution, what is the specific problem. And having this timeline, we can, let's say, share ideas in which aspects the group will work towards this, to achieve this contribution. So I know maybe chairs have an idea how to, let's say, do it, or we should work on it with Mikołaj and then propose you this idea and then discuss. It's up to chairs.
If I can add something, of course we can propose some, something for SOGAI, like a bottom-up approach. But then I think it would be great, if other people contributing to SOGAI could propose, let's say, complementary things. Otherwise, it would be just our proposal.
Yeah, and like just to address to what Davi was just mentioning, I think that looking at the proposal, every step there could potentially become the whole project and the whole contribution. Like the thing is, how do we select the content there? What are the dimensions that we're going to be covering with the data set itself? Then how do we do this split of target audience versus the objectivity, and which is going to be subjectively evaluated by experts and so on. So all of those are very big topics, and each of them could be an object of research and contribution. So that's also coming to what we encounter on a way that maybe at the very beginning, how do we even select the data set could become such a big contribution already on its own that we could decide to push to like a more, let's say, broad recommendation. So I don't have an answer to that yet, but definitely it's going to be something as we go. We're going to have an opportunity to explore more.
Hi, this is Pablo. So something that we probably need to find out if we want to have a contribution to ITU is, as you said, a specific problem to solve. It doesn't need to be a very detailed problem to solve. So it can be a new recommendation, as we did in IMG, but it was still a problem that we have. So when we did the last one, the 1321, was that the problem was that, okay, there was many people testing immersive systems, but there's no common ground for that. So there was already some publications, there was already a lot of things, but there was a need for some, standardization, common ground, so comparability of things. So this was relatively broad, and the recommendation is relatively broad in that sense. Right? Others are more detailed, like the 919 for the QoE of 360 video, or the analysis of the data. These are more detailed and go. But some of this probably should be like, so having a relevant problem, I think, is important for ITU and also for us as VQuack, to really dedicate the efforts to something where we can be meaningful, right? From the presentation that you have made right now, I was thinking about, whether it could be a better way to benchmark somehow, to address the problems of benchmarking of algorithms that from the human perspective, that could be something that then we can make, we might want to make it happen via creating videos from papers or whatever, right? But really identifying a problem which is not correctly solved today, that I think it would be the key issue. Actually, this is more or less where VQuack, how VQuack was born, right? That people was not happy about how video algorithms were evaluated. They wanted to create, a new way of doing it in a more scientific way, right? So I think that identifying the problem, a relevant problem, that where we can make some significant contribution, is probably the key, the key point for discussion, and everything else should come later. That's my view.
Sorry for missing part of the discussion. I had to take an urgent call, but I would like to make two high-level comments here. And again, apologies if this has been covered or I'm missing part of the context here. So SOGAI, again, by the name only, right? It's subjective and objective evaluation of Gen AI. So I think at least by the name, we're targeting, just like what was presented by Mikola and David, you have a machine that creates content rather than a camera, and you try to do, let me say, human evaluation for now. Earlier on, during the broader discussion about the future of VQuag, I also see the dual problem gaining more, or at least some relevance, which is maybe existing content being evaluated by a machine. I see an increasing usage and demand for that. So I would like to refocus the question on, do we feel, or you as chairs of the project, feel that SOGAI should be the home for both of these activities? Should we generate a new project? If there is enough interest, by the way, by others, not just because I bring it up. It's the first high-level question I want to ask. On the second topic of specifically what is the charter, the current charter of SOGAI, I remember the discussion that started it was what was, let me say, a trend maybe a year ago. Hey, you know, Sora or pick any of the engines. I don't want to be calling any names. Make a funny video of my dog jumping, right? And I can say that my perception is that the trend or the hype has a little bit died down, and people are focusing on a little bit different usages of the engines that make videos. And that's what I like about the proposal I heard. It's a real practical problem, right? People are making or trying to make videos today of academic papers, sometimes because they need to put it as a companion, say, asset when they publish it, right? Some publishers like SPIA strongly, I can say, encourages authors to create a short video. So to me, that's a real practical problem that I can see how it lasts. On the other hand, you know, creating funny meme kind of videos, maybe it's here today, maybe it was popular a year ago, it's not going to be popular tomorrow. So I think that we need to start by identifying what was also, so what is the problem we're trying to solve here, right? Which Gen AI use cases we feel have the highest probability of being popular and used by industry, just like the one that was mentioned earlier. And based on that, create the use cases and address it, finding what is a subjective, what is objective methodology, right? Because right now have it wide open. Gen AI. Gen AI can mean, again, silly videos, or can mean scientific videos, can mean anything. It's up to you, the chairs, to keep the focus of the group on what is more relevant. But I can say that my overall perception, not just from Meta, but overall of the industry, is that the days of purely and 100% artificially generated videos are probably behind us, and more the mixed cases of, say, editing a video, right? Modifying a video, enhancing a video appears to be, at least today, maybe a year from now, we're going to have the same discussion, that this also loses. But it appears to me that people are accepting, just like people don't really accept that Gen AI will write random books, but it may take someone's text, modify it, improve it, do some check. I would say I can see Gen AI being more of an assistant to an editor, to a filmmaker, to an individual that want to make their video better. So my suggestion is focus on the practical, and the practical that I see today are the editing applications, the modifications of existing videos, generation of content that summarizes scientific or other content. But I'm opening and bouncing back to you. How do you see, if I have to give it a name, it would have been the flip side of SOGAI. So it's AI evaluation of, content, right? So how do you feel about these two topics?
Thank you so much, Yanis, for summarizing also the previous discussions. And these are great points. And maybe on, let's start with, I don't think we have been doing a great job with actually keeping the focus of the group properly. It has been really broad. So I'm very happy that we are having these discussions and we are trying to pinpoint really what we're going to be focusing on. And maybe the underarching or overarching theme here is that how do we even evaluate interest in a topic? Because SOGAI meetings have been highly attended, but when it comes to contributing and when it comes to presenting new things, it's been challenging to come with let's say traction. So it would be, I think, very good for us to determine if we need, for example, 2 projects or 1 project that is overarching this. But mostly we need to determine what does actually interest look like. Because I think everybody wants to keep track on what's happening in the generative space. Everybody wants to be part of the discussions, but it's difficult to really keep track on keep contributing. So I think that if we have, let's say, a buy-in from people, from the groups, like enough for the 2 projects, we maybe have to think of also starting a new one. But as it stands right now, I don't think we have enough traction in SOGAI as it is to, say, oh, we're not going to take it under the umbrella of SOGAI. So personally, I do agree with you. I think that seems where everything is heading, and that's where actually a big value is going to be coming, and that's the machine evaluating as it was a person. But yeah, I would like to really figure out what we are thinking of if we start a new group or if we just start focusing on that topic predominantly, if it is more beneficial. Abhijay, do you have any thoughts on that?
It's very well put, Lucas. I just wanted to add like 2 small things. One is using of a hybrid evaluation stack, which Yanis mentioned as his first point, with the deterministic objective metrics and LLM as a judge. Both can be used for evaluations. And I am all for having LLM as a judge as being used for just like soft qualities rather than just indicating that this is right or wrong. And the other thing that I wanted to mention was that with any activity, we might end up building like a goal data set or a fixed benchmark. But what I have seen is that the trend is kind of changing where people are building data sets that are evolving or like especially with the leaderboard, the Arena AI sort of leaderboard where like they keep changing models and they don't really care for having trained or expert annotators. Um, so I don't know if that's the right way to do it or ours or like having gold data sets is the better way. But I'm definitely for using a study that we do at SOGAI that becomes the basis for an ITU recommendation or something that can be used um, for defining a framework. Um, so yeah, but I I don't know the answers to the questions and concerns you raised. Like it's still a gray area for me.
Okay, so I can say that now, speaking not, of course, as a chair, but as a meta or representing industry, the second half, the one that I talked about, right, LLM as a judge or however you want to call it, right, is definitely a real problem today in the sense that people are using it without knowing its limitations, its accuracy, and all the parameters that you should know when you are conducting essentially. This is a mechanized test. So one can abstract it and say, okay, that's a new metric, right? It's a metric that I don't know exactly what is the algorithm behind it, but it's an algorithm that I put it a signal and it gives me an answer. You can call it a next generation metric or a black box metric, or you can call it an LLM judge. But the fact that it is A, happening, B, people are using it extensively in various product groups for their own purpose, without consulting, let's say, the people that are natural domain experts, to me is a clear sign of a direction that we should be moving. Because, first of all, it could be used the wrong way and make wrong decisions, but I think for this group, the most important is that what it is the right way, and it renders, say, all the expertise that we have slowly but deterministically relevant, right? So if at some point all the work that people are going to do around visual quality, optimization, measurement, is substituted completely by a query that you put with a proper prompt and a proper machine, that's something that I think hits to the heart of the existence of the group and what we should be doing. As such, because A, there is demand definitely from Meta, and I want to hear any other people who come from industry, whether their respective companies face a similar set of problems. Are you using LLMs for instance? You don't need to elaborate on which use case, what stimuli, etc. And if we do, like we do at Meta, I would like us to connect with the academia who like to have problems to work with and understand, can we set up a project? Again, could be under SOGAI, could be under a different project, right? What can we contribute, right? What can Meta contribute? Can we contribute an engine? Can we contribute stimuli? Can we contribute, But at the end of the day, that's a problem that either we are going to solve or someone else is going to solve, to me, right now. And because of I can say, it's not really the demise, but you all know, for example, what happened to Sora, right? So Sora is no longer sort of a profitable. People, in other words, don't really see the business value behind certain use cases of Gen AI, right? Unlike, as you said, about summarization, creation of educational material. This is all has very pragmatic value that people can immediately grasp and use it. Whatever is done as a nice to have or a hobby can come and go. It sticks or may not stick. So that's why my proposal here is for you to evaluate, maybe on your next meeting, that I definitely would join and chime in again on what Meta would like to see being studied about coming up with a solid set of use cases, starting, for example, from the proposal, the solid proposal that came from AGH, Mikolai. That's a very specific and pragmatic use cases of SOGAI. In my opinion, it's a SUIN. And B, LLM as a judge. Do we cover it? Yes, no. Who is interested?
If I can mention maybe one thing. In all the VQuack projects, it's always like some people sometimes contribute a lot and then they slow down and then other people contribute, and this is normal because simply we have different tasks and projects and activities. So even me, and I think David as well, we're mainly spectating the SOGAI group so far. So of course we're not really active. And for example, with this topic, now I know that I'm actually staffing 2 PhD students that are going to start soon working with us. So definitely we can say there will be a contribution from AGH there.
There you go. So, I mean, this is already a very good signal of this is something that is being worked on as part of VQuack. So that would be definitely a work stream that I would like to see worked on as part of SOGAI. I think Yanis is making a great point. I don't think we need to make the decision on if we go right now or not, but I don't see a reason why not to have it under SOGAI at this point. There is no there wouldn't be enough space because there's so much work happening. So I think it fits the profile, and we should be considering LLM as a judge as part of SOGAI for now. And I would say that if it really becomes such a big beast that it warrants its own project, that's always possible, right? But I mean, this is maybe a question to the VQuack chairs if this could be something that just spawns on its own. But I would say at this stage, SOGAI is the best place to fit, and it is a timely problem. And I personally also, coming from the industry and have seen the usage of LLMs as a judge for various use cases, I am very much interested in seeing this being worked on as part of VQuack for the reasons that Yanis, you've just mentioned.
Thank you. So again, Cell, I think speaking now as a co-chair, general co-chair, I like this approach. I like to have a, let's say, temporary, nothing prevents it from being a permanent home of the, and we can call it, if you like this terminology, LLM as a visual judge, right? Activity and be integrated. We can modify the few sentences you have describing the project to reflect that direction, number one. My suggestion number two would be that there were two presentations that happened summer of last year as part of the ETG group, by the way. One is from Wei Zhou, University of Cardiff, who presented exactly, let's say, at the time it was state of the art on LLM as a judge. And the name of the second fellow escapes me, but it will come back to me. I would like to extend invitation for at least these two individuals that presented to VCOEG before this topic to come back and make further contributions, right? And I believe that I'll let you decide about sharing or not sharing, right? If there is an opportunity for them to take a leadership role, especially if they are doing active research today, we should welcome them. These are my thoughts. Sel?
Yeah, I think that's great suggestions, and would be very good to develop Sogai in these directions.
Okay. Any other topic to discuss about Sogai?
Yeah, no, it's a small comment. What is the time frame you are thinking of for the activity? Because I mean, and scale, because kind of joint activities take us some time as VCOEG, as experience, and these things moves very fast. So I think there's kind of a trade-off that you need to address. I'm just thinking of the 5G KPI white paper that we have written. We posed the question in the, so we kind of opened the topic in the meeting at Sony. We worked a bit during 1 year on kind of warming up the thing. We kicked it off in Klagenfurt 2 years ago, and we published like 1 month ago. So, you know, it was 3 years altogether, 2 years of actual work, considering everything, right? So most of the work was mostly 1 year, 1 year and a half, but still something that needs to be, and it was relatively quick. I mean, others been, I mean, 1321 was a bit slower. So just to understand what we're thinking about, because otherwise we might be very, you know, I mean, to be realistic and also, yeah, in terms of expectations, but also from the good part, right? So maybe if we are good at doing 2-year work cycles, then maybe we need to address more fundamental problems that are less likely to change in 2-3 years' time.
This is my thought here, right? Time is of the essence, unlike other projects, number one, because of the accelerated development around this topic and many other topics related to AI. So what we can do while we formalize, let's say, the more proper way of, say, evaluating LLM as a judge, the simplest step we can do is right now on any and all subjective experiments that people already have in the pipeline for their own purposes. I'm sure so many research groups in so many universities are already conducting or plan to conduct a certain subjective experiment, right? Can we make sure that in addition to the 20 actual subjective observers we have, we collect data from 1, 2, or 3, let's call them state-of-the-art LLMs that can be used to provide a cross-check. So at least we start collecting data, right? Because right now, all we know is that A, it's happening in an uncontrolled environment for an unknown or very little known use case that varies from company to company. That's not useful. If we collect what is the opinion and the score that an LLM gives today on an actual subjective experiment that is conducted in front of a TV, you know, using, let me say, the good old standard way, and take that video, feed it into machine 1, 2, 3, get a score and make it available to researchers and say, hey, this is what 27 actual people said. These are the 3 votes from these 3 engines. You don't need to call them ABC, right? If you don't want to call names and commercial products. That's the starting point of at least start building up. Because then we know that, A, everybody who's conducting experiments has that tooling and the ability to collect data. It's a matter of asking the proper question, right? We still haven't decided what would be the prompt. But I think introducing LLM as a judge, as a, one additional score into existing subjective experiments would be my ask for any experiments that are planned, executed, or, in the planning phase. Can we make sure that everybody who is doing subjective evaluation today is having at least 1, 2, or 3 additional scores that will be logged using LLMs? Then I think the group can start acting and collecting data and say, hey, we have these data points, right? What conclusions can we make? Can we find a way to unify the prompts? Can we find a unified way of, proposing how this should be done to go to the next level? But it has to be done with, not with future collection, but also the ones that are now in flight or very soon to be conducted.
Yeah, I love the idea. I think this is a great point. One thing that I would like to mention is, as we try to do with our human observers, we should treat LLMs as such as well, in a sense of making sure that their votes are reproducible. So trying to have the information on what machine was used, what version of the machine was used, and what was the system prompt would be super important for the learnings. Because yeah, if we anonymize these as ABC, I know it's better for the papers and so on, but at the end of the day, from the scientific perspective, we do need to be able to optimize, the things, because it's also not really. It doesn't mean that LLM with one system prompt is doing a bad job. Doesn't mean that LLM is bad as a judge. So there's plenty of other room for improvement. So this is just a comment to that, but otherwise I am 100% on board, and I think we should go even further and maybe just go with the standard video and image data sets that we have, and try to use LLM as a judge on them, see how they do with respect to the human data, and yeah, do some proper benchmarking, because that's something that's been missing, I would say, very much from the rapid development so far. We don't really know how well it works.
And just small practical.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, I just wanted to point out one small thing, which is for the existing benchmarks on IQA, I did test some VLMs and I found that maybe they might be already overfitted to some of them because they are publicly available. But on the newer sort of data sets that we are collecting, it might be useful because they haven't seen those data sets yet. And that's one. And the other thing I wanted to point out was that for VLMs and giving them videos to judge whether video A is better than video B, it's also important to understand how many frames of the video are we providing to the model. So it might, so I like just agreeing with Lucas, the way we prompt the model and the kind of conditions we provide to the model always changes their opinion, kind of shapes their opinions slightly. So maybe having like a standard way of doing that would also be useful. But yeah, reproducibility would be key over here, and also understanding its results.
My question is, well, I have 2 questions. So first of all, do we ask one question or a couple of times with different temperatures or something like that, seeing how stable is the result? It's an open question, I guess.
It's excellent if we can exercise that, right?
Yeah.
Heat, it's okay. And then get results.
And the second question is, do you have an experience? Like if I take HDTV, let's say HDTV1 there is 160 sequences, it weighs a couple of giga, how much it costs to go through LLMs? Understand, even if it's internal, I guess you somehow count. But if you would like to use it on some external system, I guess it's a lot of tokens. Yeah.
I mean, just like you would pay a human observer, you need to get an estimate of the tokens. I do not have right now, but using an open source model that's hosted locally, and I know they're not the state of the art, so that would be the problem about using, say, I don't know, Llama 3.1, which is already 2 years old, and not the state of the art. But at least gives you a baseline that is, you know, you can refer to it by a unique hash, right? And it doesn't cost money as long as you host it in internal resources. That would be a way to sort of do it, quote unquote, for free, but you don't get the best possible result. I do agree. I do not know, ABJ, to what extent the existing databases have been leveraged, but I do know for a fact that video set that was mentioned earlier, right, this, the one that I helped open source when I was at Netflix with a few other companies, is already decided like by 400 different model makers that are using it, right? So it's at least used by 400 people who build certain models. So I wouldn't be surprised if right now you can literally get every single score back if the memory is already there about and get the accurate. So that's really the problem. So if it's already fitted on existing data, it's not going to give you very useful information. That's why on the ones that are in flight, it's the most critical one, right? Because, you know, these are by definition not being used for...
Two small comments. One, I'm pretty sure that most CDVL datasets are probably not being used for training. Because it requires a registration. I'm specifically thinking about ITS4S. This is a very nice dataset for a lot of things, with a lot of, you know, subjective results in a lot of different conditions. So this is a good benchmark. Second comment: if you want to make this call for people doing research right now, things like that, we should maybe formalize somehow. I mean, formalize meaning write it down, send to the reflector, put something on the website. I don't know, send a relation, a statement to ITU. We can make it happen this week probably and have it approved before the end of the week. And maybe we could spread the call. I mean, it should be simple enough for us to be able to write it during the week. But I think that just saying it loud today is not going to make it happen.
100%. So let's set it apart from the existing liaison statements. See if we can issue, again, could be just a call on the website, doesn't need to be a formal liaison, that we as a group suggest subjective experiments to be supplemented, right? Let's be very clear on the language. You never say substituted by visual LLMs, even just for the purpose of establishing how good they are, what are their limitations, and what is their proper usage, right? So to make that and have ITU or others pick it up. For example, we are going to make exactly the same recommendation to AOM, to MPEG, to JPEG, because I think it's imminent. People are using today subjective experiment only at the very last stage of standardization because of the cost, inevitable cost, and more than anything else, delay, right? Cost is one aspect, but if you are developing a new standard and you need to wait 1 week, which is like the minimum for a true subjective experiment to do the assessment of a certain set of coding tools. It means no. If
you do it in 1 week,
and you go past that, strange. But again, the problem here is that people cannot wait 1 week. They would like to get a lower confidence, right? Maybe more noisy but faster signal. So if we can at least capture that part, it's going to be very important. I think I saw Alex raising his hand.
Yeah, so I was just wondering, from the SOGA group, there have been quite a few very interesting presentations on how to do testing and what is out there in the literature, right? Do we think we have sufficiently narrowed down already what exactly we would be asking people, right? I find this activity super and would be very happy also to contribute from our team there. It's just, you know, I think this would be really the next step to then do, right? I mean, do we try to actually decompose this into a somewhat multidimensional approach, right? I mean, what are the criteria based on which we're asking the question, which is also biasing in a way, of course, right? And so you could be running it in several runs where you first are interested in prompt correctness, right? So, and so on, right? So I think that's really something where if we get this sorted out relatively soonish in maybe some task force as a first kind of step towards this, I think that would be excellent.
I think this is a question directly to our chairs. Do you think we are closing in on having a draft of a draft, as I say sometimes, right, of what the group feels, and are going back now to the core SOGAI charter, right? Evaluation of generated AI. Do you have, after all the discussions, can the chairs undertake to provide the draft with many to-dos, but at least a skeleton of what the consensus of the group is, what questions to be asked, right? Is it going to be multiple choice? It's going to be, you know what we're talking about here. To at least start circulating it as a seed for eventually coming up with a recommendation?
Right now, so I am still a little bit confused on the work streams that we have been discussing today. So if it is really related to the stream that Mikko and David were talking about, I think we have a timeline, we have everything. We also have an idea of how to ask the questions and so on. Now the second part is really, are we going to be going with the route of LLM as a judge? And if so, then yeah, we should probably draft this proposal or the statement as we talked about it right now, and then start formalizing like what it should also look like, I guess. But I am not 100% sure I understand this like multi-question, like what should the write-up be?
I'm interpreting Alex, but I think we are going back to the roots for Alex's question, right? Let's put visual LLM on the side for a moment. Let's go back. Synthetic or artificially generated content. Are we closing in on a questionnaire that you're going to be asking humans to evaluate the quality and all its aspects of generated content? We may have still, Abhijay.
So I think going back to the earliest discussions that we had at SOGAI, I think this part is related to that, where we were still trying to decide how do we evaluate text to video or text to image models based on based on how users were prompting it and the different kinds of dimensions that can exist in evaluating these models was changing. It is definitely not the same as evaluating quality. I think that it was mainly at that time we were trying to figure out if there are other dimensions that we can explore. And I don't think we ever had any conclusions there. I also felt that from a task to task basis, the dimensions would change. I also presented a paper on that where they were evaluating codec avatars, and there were different dimensions that were chosen, like trustworthiness of the avatar, etc., that can be used, and then see if they correlate with quality objective metrics. So I don't think we ever came up with like a final guideline, but there's something that we can write or draft up over there. And but I seriously don't know if everyone, if like a lot of people would agree on a set of questions or a set of dimensions, because as the task evolves or like as the technology evolves, the questions keep changing. So maybe at least just defining that for specific kind of tasks, these would be the questions that would be important to discuss. I think that can be something that can be done. And there are already a few papers around that. So
So the proposal here, at least coming from me, is things will change, right? And there is nothing we can do about it except follow up as they change. At least we should have one document that captures and say, hey, we only care about 3 use cases for now. Limit the scope of the use cases is my first suggestion, because leaving the scope of whatever people are going to be using those engines to create, generate, modify, etc. content means an endless discussion, right? Pick up the specific use case of, I'll call it for now, scientific content summarization, right? Or text to video, but on the context of educational scientific video. There are some specific proposals on what questions should be asked and what objectives should be met. I think you are fine creating a very draft document that says, hey, for this use case, we're proposing these questionnaires, right? And then build upon it, right? And say, okay, now different use case would be to modify a video, right? For entertainment purpose. In that case, maybe this question about, can this be used for education? No longer applies. Fine. Okay. Instead of that, we substitute it to this other question, or whatever the group feels like. And it's ideal if we can have a document with, again, a whole lot of to-dos, right, and empty spaces and placeholders, rather than not having any. So at some reasonable time frame, if you can help us get to the draft of the draft on this one axis, I think it's going to be very useful. And please, by all means, if people, because again, this is a volunteer organization, if you feel that you need help, reach out to the members, see who can raise their hand, and cut the pie into many pieces, right? And see who can add the piece about. You already have at least a couple of people who are committed to this use case. See who else is committed, and if somebody is not committed, don't include that use case, right? It may be that there will be only one use case in this document, right? The one that we heard today. And that's perfectly fine, at least to me, rather than not having any. Alex, because he started the point.
Yeah, I fully second this, and I think it's exactly what I meant. So the idea would really also be that there's at least some progress with regard to what do we narrow down to, right, or what we decide on. And obviously, I know that there are these papers, but also, I mean, some I find better than others, right? And I think it would be nice if we were getting to some consensus of what in the different papers, what do we basically, narrow down to be the procedure we are undertaking for now. That also doesn't mean that this is carved into stone forever, right? But I think we need to start somewhere. Yeah.
Okay, now I completely understand the comment, and in that I would say, well, yes, we definitely do have enough information to start the document and write everything down, that's for sure. And yeah, definitely hearing loud and clear that having this written down as a charter is something that is absolutely necessary for the success of the project.
Yeah, and for the AGH-generated content or modified or whatever, in my opinion, one of the very important part of the evaluation, I would say to some extent crucial, is if you decide that your use case is to watch video once, or you can watch it more than once, or you can stop it and things like that, because this is the aspect that should be taken into account. Well, the moment we think about like a TikTok video, what Mikola said, well, definitely once is enough, yeah, and no one will watch it again. We assume. And then for many other use cases, there's a chance that people are kind of re-watching the video, and then you start to spot much more strange things, and then the evaluation will be different. So in my opinion, regardless of what is done, it would be good to include at least this one thing, like the evaluation should reflect on the goal of the video being watched only once or multiple times.
All right, we are at time. First of all, thank you to our chairs who joined early morning in the Pacific West Coast of the United States. And again, I don't want to put more weight on your shoulders, but I personally feel that this direction as a theme, right? AI is central to what we do as a group. And any push you can do to bring us to the forefront, right, to get ahead, let me say, of the things that other people do, is also very important for the whole group, not only for Sogai. So reach out to me privately and discuss how can we maybe intensify the efforts if necessary. But I would urge, for all of us to put as much resources. And for that reason, I thank you, thank Mikolai and everybody else who joined this discussion. Is it time for the host to tell us what to do next? So we just call it a day and come back tomorrow?
Okay, so yes, this is definitely the end of the, let's say, scientific discussions in this room. But for those of you who want to scientifically discuss a little bit more, we would like to bring you to Club Studio. And since we are a little bit over time, let me propose that, initially I plan to leave from here 6:15. Maybe we can leave from here, let's say 6:30 sharp. It's like 5, maybe 10 minutes walk, okay? And I don't want to be there any later because the booking is for 6:30. So if we are significantly late, they can just cancel our reservation. So yeah, if we are just a couple of minutes late, this is fine. So 6:30 in front of this building, sharp, we go to Club Studio. Yes, please. If you want, of course. This is.
It's super. I was just wondering. No, I don't need the microphone. Yeah. Okay. So whatever. Yeah. Thank you. I was just wondering, could you share the address again, because I may just